An immigration judge denied Kilmar Abrego Garcia's bid to reopen his 2019 asylum case on Wednesday, giving Garcia 30 days to appeal the decision.
Now, immigration agents had arrested Abrego Garcia in 2019 since he was undocumented, and he was denied asylum since he had been in the country for more than a year at that point. Abrego Garcia's team asked to reopen the case after the DHS said he may be deported to Uganda. But Regional Deputy Chief Immigration Judge Philip Taylor said the request was untimely.
Judge Taylor also said there was insufficient evidence that DHS had decided to remove Abrego Garcia to Uganda or another third country. He continued, quote, "The word may is permissive and indicates to the court that in sending this notification to respondent's counsel, the department sought to convey that it reserved the right to remove him to Uganda, not necessarily that it intended to do so, that it had decided to do so, or that it would do so imminently."
Now, Abrego Garcia's team pointed to the fact that since he had been deported to El Salvador and brought back to face human trafficking charges, he could be eligible for asylum. The judge ultimately denied the motion. Now, Abrego Garcia's lawyers have also argued he can't receive a fair trial due to, quote, highly prejudicial, inflammatory, and false statements said about him.
The DHS celebrated the ruling, writing in part on X. His lawyers tried to fight his removal from the U.S., but one thing is certain. This Salvadorian man is not going to be able to remain in our country. He will never be allowed to prey on innocent Americans again. I can't believe we're still talking about this guy.
Yeah, I think, Democrats made the wrong choice by trying to make this a flagship argument.
Absolutely.
To me, it wasn't that serious. But I also know that now that we're here, a lot of Trump officials labeled him as an MS-13 gang member. We're using evidence that wasn't concrete. And so to me, when we want to go into stuff like that in the media and start to paint a picture, this is not even about whether or not we want to deport a migrant that may or may not be committing a crime. It's really now about how the U.S. handles asylum law, deportation mistakes, and political pressure now that we have a federal stage and a world stage, or American stage at least, that people are watching this on. And so I think a little bit has become like blown out of proportion. You said it. I can't believe we're still talking about this right now. It's like we're really hyper-focused on this, and all I think that Democrats should have been asking for is that this man just gets his day in court and we figure out how to handle this the same way that we handle everybody, and not use him as like a political football to prove a point, and just make sure that, look, if he's in a gang, then okay, he's in a gang. Deport him, go to jail, whatever the process is, but do not try to make a point out of immigration because it's a winning issue. It's the same thing that you were just saying about healthcare. Don't just try to make some random point to prove something to your constituents. Be honest about it, and let's solve this in the way that the American Constitution tells us to.
I think Democrats really got punked by Abrego Garcia's lawyer, because how this whole process unfolded was that when Abrego Garcia's lawyer filed his petition to prevent removal from DHS, or rather said that he was mistakenly deported to El Salvador, which was true. He wasn't supposed to be deported there. Now he might go to Uganda, which they would legally be allowed to do. The lawyer did not include a large portion of his recorded immigration history and the evidence that the government had against him, stating that he was credibly believed to be a member of MS-13, that he had engaged in domestic violence, and that he had engaged in human trafficking. So the reason why the information then came out about the MS-13 gang affiliation was not through the media, but it was actually from the court filings in response to that challenge from the DOJ. So if Abrego Garcia's lawyer had actually given his full history in front of the court, then the DOJ would have never had to introduce those documents into the docket in response to that filing.
Yeah, and again, these are not small charges like human trafficking. Like you're right. When you look at this, you're wondering, why would Democrats even care to make this like some flagship issue of the beginning of this year? But I think that at the end of the day, now that we're here and that it's been so highly publicized, we understand because of the Supreme Court ruling that he can't just be sent to any country, right? So now Uganda's on the table, but we have to make sure that we're following procedures that are set up in our country, particularly for cases like this.
Yeah, I think he's got his fair share of due process at this point.
Next up, the Trump administration has told Congress they have decided the U.S. is in an armed conflict with drug cartels. Stick around.